Hi everyone, I'm Bia, and welcome back to Cardiac Radio for Teens. For those of you who might not know, Cardiac Radio for Teens is a place where teens can come together with other teens to learn about Spiritist teachings and topics in a way that makes more sense to us and is more relatable to us as teenagers in today's society. So we've been reading through the Gospel according to Spiritism together, and in the Gospel according to Spiritism, it takes a message from the Bible, right? A message from Jesus' teachings, and explains that because we know that Jesus spoke in little stories, right? In little parables. And he did that because for the people at that time, that was the best way for them to understand his teachings. But now that we've advanced from those situations that those people were in, we still can learn a lot from these messages, and we still have a lot to learn from these messages, but we often misinterpret them now because now there's stories and people get caught up. Well, does he mean it in a literal sense? Is it a figure of speech? But what does that mean? So here the spirits come to show us exactly what they mean, right? Exactly what Jesus meant in those words. And we are at the end of chapter 10, and chapter 10 is about blessed are the merciful, right? So we were talking about forgiving one another and how important it is to forgive, because when we make mistakes, we want people to forgive us, right? We want God to forgive us for our mistake. And God always forgives us for our mistakes. No matter how many times we do them, he'll keep forgiving us and keep giving us new chances. So how come if God's going to forgive everyone, how come we aren't going to forgive people, right? Like, what gives us the right to not forgive people while even God will forgive them? And another important message that we learned in this is that forgiveness doesn't mean you get away with it, right? So someone can forgive you, but now you have to go and work hard to make up for those mistakes that you made. So just because someone forgave you because you forgot to hand in a homework doesn't mean that you can't do the homework. They forgave you. They say, okay, it's okay. I'll give you a second chance to try it again, right? To do it again, to hand it in. So that, it doesn't mean we got away with it, right? It doesn't mean we don't have to do it. We have to go back and do it and fix it, right? So, and maybe we made a mistake, or we did something bad towards someone. They might forgive us, but we also have to repay for those mistakes that we've made. So don't think that just by forgiving people they're getting away, right? We have to also learn and have consequences for our actions. But we shouldn't hold a grudge towards people, right? We have to forgive them, because not forgiving them hurts us more than it hurts them. And at the end of each chapter, there's a section that's instruction from the spirits. So here it's giving specific instructions from the spirits on what we should do in this topic, right? What should we do about this topic, blessed are the merciful? And how can we put that into our daily lives? So we left off on number 18 of this section, because the way this book is broken down is that separate, not exactly questions, but separate thoughts, separate paragraphs, or maybe they're a little bit more than a paragraph, are given different numbers, so that when you're looking through the book, it's easy to say, oh, this is in chapter 10, section 18. So then it's easy for you to look, right? Chapter 10, instruction from the spirits, number 18. So that way it's easy to find it. So it's not really a question or anything like that, but it's just a numbering, so it's easier to find. So here it says, Dear friends, be severe with yourselves, but even indulgent with the weak of the others. This is the practice of saintly charity, alas, observed by so few. All have evil tendencies to be overcome, defects to correct, and bad habits to modify. Everyone has a burden, more or less heavy, which must be gotten rid of in order to be able to ascend to the summit of the mountain called progress. Why then have you shown yourself to be so clairvoyant with regards to your neighbor, and yet so blind in regards to yourself? When will you cease to see the small speck which troubles your brother's eye, but instead pay attention to the beam in your own eye, which is blinding you and causing you to go from one fall to another. Believe what your spiritual brothers are telling you. Every man or woman sufficiently full of pride as to judge themselves superior in matters of virtue and merit to their incarnate brothers and sisters is both foolish and guilty, and will therefore suffer castigation by God on their day of judgment. The true character of charity is always modest and humility, which consists in not seeing the superficial defects of others, but rather in striving to cause their goodness and virtues to predominate. Although the human heart is an abyss of corruption, there too is always the embryo of good sentiments, which are, in fact, the living spark of the spiritual essence, hidden away in its innermost folds. So here again, it's bringing up another great concept that we've spoken about before, but we haven't spoken about today, right? How be hard on yourselves, right? When you make a mistake, be hard to forgive yourself, right? And realize that you made that mistake and really take responsibility for that mistake. But for other people, don't be that hard on them, right? Let them go, forgive them, because they're going to have to fix that mistake on their own, right? They're going to have to fix that problem. We all have challenges that we're going through. We all have struggles. We have our own struggles, right? Be hard on ourselves so that we can fix our own struggles, but other people's struggles, we can't fix that. So leave that up to them, right? We do our part. We forgive them. We show them kindness. We show them charity. But that's it, right? We can lead by example, showing them how we fix our mistakes, but we can't fix their mistakes for them. So be easier on them, right? Forgive them. And don't worry, because that's something they're going to have to learn and overcome, right? But be hard on ourselves. And again, this comes to a very good point that Jesus brought to us, is, right, that we look at the tiniest speck in someone else's eye, right? So someone has a little eyelash in their eye, and we're like, oh my God, that person has an eyelash, we can't stop. But meanwhile, we have a big piece of wood in our eye, and we don't realize, right? So we're judging these other people. We're looking at their little tiny imperfections, but we're not looking at these major imperfections that we have, right? So who's at fault? We are, right? Maybe they're trying to fix that little eyelash that they have in their eye, that little speck, right? They're trying to fix it. They're working on it. That's their problem, right? That's their situation. But meanwhile, we're not focusing on ourselves. And that's what we need to focus on, because the only one that can change ourselves and fix ourselves and better ourselves is ourselves. So we need to see those big pieces of wood in our eye. We need to see, we need to be hard on ourselves when we make these mistakes so that we can better ourselves. But for other people, right, just be kind to them and show, like they said here, show modesty and humility towards them, because, right, that's not our job. God will help them get through it, right? God will give them the consequences that they need to make up for that, not us. So, and they're saying people who put themselves above others like that are foolish and they're guilty, right? Because they're not showing charity to one another. They're thinking they're superior. And in the end, you're going to be wrong for putting yourself so high above these other people that you're really not above at all, right? We're equal. So, again, that's really important to realize, because it's so easy to look at other people, to judge other people. But what are people saying about us? What if we saw ourselves from the outside, right? What would we be saying about ourselves? That's what we should be focusing on. And then it continues. Spiritism, O blessed doctrine for consolation. Happy are those who know it and take profit from the edifying teachings coming from the spirits of the Lord. From them the pathway is illuminated, and along their way they are able to read these words, which will indicate how it is possible to reach the end of their journey. This can only be done by putting charity into practice, meaning charity from the heart, charity to your neighbor and to yourself. In short, charity towards every living creature, and above all, love for God, because this summarizes all of mankind's obligation, thus making it impossible to really love God without practicing charity. And so he has made it into the law for all creation. De Fetre, Bishop of Nevers in Bordeaux. So again, right, charity and love, that's what we need to focus on. And if we're focusing on that, if we're focusing on this charity and practicing charity and having this true love with God, we'll be on the right path, right? If we're doing that, this forgiveness will come easy, right? Fixing our mistakes will come easy. We'll still have obstacles, but it'll become so much easier if we are practicing this charity. And like we said, by practicing charity, we have that real connection to God, that real love for God, right? We're showing our love for God because we're showing, right, what he wants us to do, to have charity for all, to love all living creatures, because God created all these living creatures. So to love all, right, as our neighbors and love ourselves. So again, keeping that in mind, if we do that, if we practice charity and be kind to one another, love one another as ourselves, love ourselves, right, love God, if we do those things, everything else will fall into place. And then we won't have to worry about, oh, should I forgive this person or not? Because that charity that we're practicing will already guide us in that right direction, right? These spirits are here, the Spiritism itself, right? These teachings are here to guide us, to illuminate the path of the good, right? There's a lot of paths we can take. Spiritism is showing us, illuminating that right path to go, right? So we just have to put that into our daily lives, practice those things, and we'll go down that path. We'll go down that right path that Spiritism is guiding us. But it's about us. It's up to us, because I can read this out loud here and I can talk about this, but if I don't apply it to my life, if I don't try and practice it, what good am I doing, right? I'm seeing the illuminated path, but I'm not going down it. So it takes that step, right? Doing it for yourself. And that's the most important thing, right? We can talk about it all we want, but truly practicing it is the next step we need to start taking. So now there's a question that Kardec asked to the spirits and said, as no one is perfect, does it follow that no one has the right to reprehend their neighbor? So saying, right, no one's perfect, so does that mean no one is allowed to reprimand their neighbor, to judge their neighbor, right? And the spirits answered, this is certainly not the right conclusion to arrive at, seeing that each one of you must work for the progress of everyone, and above all, especially for those who have been placed in your care. But for this very reason, it should be done in moderation in order to obtain a useful end, and not, as is so often the case, for the mere pleasure of reviling. In this event, the reprehension would be wickedness, whereas in previous instances, it is a duty demanded by charity, which must be accomplished with all possible care. For the rest, the censure that is made for others should also be directed at oneself. So trying to find out if you too are not deserving of the same reprimand. St. Louis, Paris, 1860. So here it's saying that, no, we don't have to conclude that, right? Because that means, oh, if we're going to figure it out on our own and God's going to take care of us, then why would we have parents, right? Why would we have police officers enforcing the laws, right? No, there are these people, right? So a police officer might not be the most perfect person, right? They might have their own problems they're going through, because we know on earth everyone is not at that state of perfection, right? No one's at that state of perfection. So that police officer might have something that they're working on. They might have something that they're struggling with, right? They're not perfect, but if someone's breaking the laws that are in place, they have to be reprimanded for that, right? They have to learn the right things. They have to serve whatever time it is or whatever price it may be, so they learn from that mistake, right? We need those things to better ourselves, because when we do something wrong, but then there's a consequence, right? It's like a little kid when they sit in timeout. they realize, oh, this is bad. I don't want to sit here, so I shouldn't do that wrong thing, right? There's a necessary part of this, and that's a way that we learn from those things. So we can't just be like, oh, okay, let's just forgive all criminals and let them loose. No, they still have to learn from those mistakes, right? And that doesn't mean we're better than them, because we have our own problems and they have their own problems. But as long as we're not doing it out of wickedness, right? So as long as we're truly trying to educate someone, like parents are trying to educate us, right? When kids go in timeout, it's for them to learn. But if a parent is just always throwing a kid in timeout for no reason, then you start to think, okay, what is the true meaning behind, right? What is their ideas, their thoughts behind this? Are they truly trying to teach this kid, or they're just trying to get the kid out of the way? What are their intentions? And we can hide our intentions from everyone, but we can't hide our intentions from God. So no matter what we think we're fooling people or tricking people, God sees right through it. So our intentions matter, right? If we're punishing or reprimanding people because we just want to be mean and we just want to be cruel, God will see that. But if we're doing it because sometimes people need it to learn, right? Like police officers, like parents, right? And people, and maybe we need to tell a friend, like, hey, you did this wrong, and you need to know that this is wrong. I'm not just going to forgive you and let you get away with it, right? No, you need to tell that person, oh, this was wrong. I didn't like when you do that. It hurt my feelings. But not to be mean, right? We're not publicly humiliating that person. We're just telling them one-on-one together. So, again, right, you can, there is this need for that. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be reprimanded by one another, because we're all trying to grow together. Of course, our main focus is to growing ourselves and helping ourselves, but if we can help others along the way, that's the best way to do it, right? To help others grow, because we want Earth as a whole to become evolved, not just ourselves. So we need to bring everyone up on that. So yeah, some people need to be taught different things, but again, the intention is what comes down to it, right? And God sees right through it. So there's no point in trying to trick people what your intentions are, because God will know in the end. And now there's another question asked by Kardec, and he says, is it reprehensible to make note of the imperfections of others when this cannot result in any benefit for them, seeing that it will not be disclosed to them? Everything depends on the intention. For sure, it is not forbidden to see evil where it exists. It would also be really inconvenient to see only good in all places. This illusion would prejudice progress. The mistake would be in making the observation result in the detriment of your neighbor, so discrediting him before general opinion without need. It would be equally reprehensible to do this simply in order to give vent to a sentiment of spite and the satisfaction of catching others at fault. However, the complete opposite occurs when, on extending a veil over an evil so that the public does not see it, the person who noted the defect in his neighbor does this for his own personal gain. That is to say, in order that he or she may discipline them to avoid what has been reproved in another. Identically, this observation is of benefit to the moralist. How else can human defects be painted if the models are not first studied? St. Louis, Paris, 1860. So, here, right, again, exactly what we were talking about. Everything depends on the intent. So, if I see someone doing something wrong and I'm just gonna post on social media about it, I'm gonna be like, oh my god, I can't believe people who do this and this and this. How dare they? How dare they do that? We're not telling them their mistake. We're not approaching them, right? We're publicly humiliating them. We're being in public, and what's our intent? Obviously, our intent is to make fun of them or to get other people to support us in not liking that person, right? There's an evil, negative intent there. So that is going to be bad, right? No matter what. But maybe, right, if if we see something that's wrong, we take note of it, and maybe we think, oh, I hope I don't do that, right? I want to take a note of this person's mistake so that I don't make the same mistakes, right? And that's how we learn, right? Because hopefully we don't have to make all these mistakes ourselves. Hopefully some of the mistakes we can learn from other people, right? Maybe our friend made a mistake, and once we saw that, we thought, wow, I don't want to make that same mistake because I already learned from theirs. So it's our intention, right? It's the intention that we have behind it. That's what matters. And again, we can't hide that from God. So in the end, God will know what our intents were, if it was to make fun of people or if it was just to learn, right? Because again, we can't pretend everything's great. We can't see someone's mistakes and not recognize them as mistakes, because then we would be delusional, right? We would think everything is great, everything is perfect, and if everything was perfect, why would we progress? No, we have to see that there's things wrong, right? We know that there's things very wrong. But then how do we take that and turn that into a positive? How do we take that and turn that into an action of something we do to fix that mistake? So again, the intent is everything, and just how we're putting that into practice. And then lastly, there's another question that says, are there cases when it is right to disclose the evil to other? So, right, when is the situation that it would be okay to share this evil that someone else did? And the spirits answered, this is a very delicate question. In order to be able to reach a conclusion, it is necessary to appeal to the true understanding of charity. If a person's imperfections only cause prejudice to themselves, then there can be nothing useful in disclosing these facts. If, however, it might cause harm to others, then it is preferable to attend to the interests of the majority. According to the circumstances, it may become a duty to expose hypocrisy and lies, because it is better than one person fall rather than many become his or her victims. In this case, it is necessary to weight the total sum of the advantages and disadvantages. St. Louis, Paris, 1860. So, again, it's delicate. There's not it's not a yes or no question, right? It's not, nothing that we learn is one case. Every person is different. Everyone has their own unique problems. So there's not one thing that we can say, oh, in this situation, yes, in this situation, no. Because there's going to be a million exceptions to those situations. But so we have to, like they're saying, we have to weight the advantages and the disadvantages. If us exposing someone's evils will help millions of people, right? Maybe someone's doing something bad to many, many, many people. Then we should disclose that evil, because that person needs to be stopped, right? And for the benefit of all those other people getting hurt, right? That person needs to be, it needs to be brought into the light, right? And we need to bring attention to that. But if it's only a person's imperfection that it's not hurting anyone else and they're not getting the message, even if you try to explain it to them, there's no point. What are they going to do, right? If you say you're really rude to people and that person's still not getting it, they're always rude to someone, they're not getting it, right? But if you express it to someone else, they might get in trouble, but again, they're still not ready to move on from that, to evolve from that, right? Because that's just part of their personality, and we hope, right? We want them to improve, but that comes from within, and if we're not willing to improve, then we're not going to. So maybe that person's not going to change that. But again, maybe the best situation is for us to remove ourselves from that person, right? If they can't be nice, if they're always rude. So, right, see the advantages and disadvantages. But if it's a situation, right, where there's a majority that by exposing one person's evil, you might save a lot of people, then yeah, it might definitely be worth it. But again, it's a case by case, and we just have to follow our gut and follow, right? Think about that law of charity. Think about the love of God, and then think, what should I do, right? What's the right thing? And, right, that path, the Spiritism has brought us that illuminated path, right? So we just need to, right, go back to Spiritism, think, you know, what, if I was the Spirit's book, right, what section would this be? What would I do in this situation? And we'll have that illuminated path right there by Spiritism to follow. So we just have to keep an open mind about that. So that is where we'll leave off today, and that's the end of chapter 10. So next week we'll start with chapter 11, which is Love Your Neighbor as Yourself, which we already mentioned a lot, but it's good to hear again. And before we leave off, I'd like to read our message from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone for today's date, January 7th. Vision. You got to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. Do we have a clear vision of where we want our lives to go? Or do we just react to things as they happen? Sometimes we need to do a little bit of both. Without an idea of what we hope to be and accomplish, we may not achieve our full potential. On the other hand, when exciting opportunities present themselves, sometimes the best thing to do is go with them, whether or not they fit perfectly into the plan we've made for ourselves. I can spend a little time today thinking about how my daily activities fit with my goals. Am I spending too much time on distractions and not enough time on things that will help me get where I want to go? Am I open to new opportunities when they present themselves? If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to talk about at all, feel free to email me at cardiacradioforteens@gmail.com and I'll get back to you right away. I'm Bia, and this has been Cardiac Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening. This has been Cardiac Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.